Dude's standing right in front of me.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Well, I'm here to hear from you. So I want to get your take on the Syria conflict, whether you think we should be involved, and what you think we should be doing. So happy to take comments from anyone.
If I could, I'd like to start. I asked Jordan whether or not, because of the recent discussion and conversation going on in Washington, whether your initial statement about our involvement, which was no.
I think these dudes are doing it on purpose.
Whether they have gotten a little soft on that, or whether you're second thinking that comment, or just where you stand on that position today.
No, not at all. I'm not second guessing it, and in fact, I feel more strongly about my position. I had the opportunity to attend a classified briefing on Sunday that raised more questions than I had before, and made me actually more skeptical of our involvement. And I've had the opportunity to go around the community for the last 2 days, and I've been talking to people from before that. But over the last 2 days, I've had a concentrated effort, and I've heard from constituents, and people are overwhelmingly opposed. But I'm here to hear from you and get your perspective.
Representative Amash, do you know any goals for this conflict?
The objectives are not really clear. It's said that they don't want to take out the Assad regime. I don't know that they'll be able to take out all the chemical weapons with limited strikes. They certainly aren't going to be able to do it without people on the ground. You're going to have people on the ground to target anyways if you're going to do effective strikes. So I'm not sure what the overall objective is, and the long-term strategy is not clear. Where do we go from there? So once we start launching missiles, what happens next?
Thank you.
Congressman, would you agree that any American who provides aid or comfort to Al-Qaeda would constitute a domestic terrorist?
Well, if you provided aid or comfort to Al-Qaeda, yes, certainly.
Okay.
Now, whether going into this conflict does that or not, that's not clear. Al-Qaeda is part of the opposition.
Yes.
But they're not all allied together, but they are fighting on the other side. So.
In my opinion, why bring on a strike at all? To me, that brings on a longer, we could be there for 5-10 years like we've been in Iraq and Afghanistan. My husband is currently serving, but I'm not going to stand here as a military wife and say I don't want my husband to go to war. That's not what he signed up for. That's not why I've known him from when I married him. That's one thing we both believe in. But why get wrapped up in a war that we can't A, afford, B, spare the lives for a military that doesn't have the support that they need? We can't go into a war, excuse my language, but kind of half-assed. We have to be able to support them, and we can't do that. We have sequestration, we have cuts left and right. We can't even afford to pay their salaries. So why get involved in another long 10-year, possibly 10-year war for nothing? And not only that, who's the enemy? They're all the same. It just, to me, that would be a slap in the face to the veterans who have fought for 10 years to go and have them support possibly an enemy that they've been fighting for 10 years. That to me is horribly wrong.
Yeah,
and again, your post was perfect the other day saying, why should we congratulate our president that is finally following the Constitution?
And I think there are a lot of veterans concerned about this, and I'm sure we have many veterans here who are very concerned about the fact that we've been fighting Al-Qaeda and fighting extremists for the past decade and more, and now there's the possibility that you go in and sure you take out an evil regime, or you try to launch strikes against the evil regime even if you don't take them out, and you are perhaps helping out Al-Qaeda and other groups that are against us. So you can't really win in that situation. Yeah.
I think it's despicable that a leader like that would use weapons like that on his own people.
Yep.
But I think it would be equally despicable for us to go in and launch an attack on those forces that a good share of them made up against people we've fought against for the last 10 years. I mean, what difference are we going to make? These Arabs have been fighting each other for thousands of years. And can we honestly believe we're going to make a difference? I mean, when we leave, they're going to go right back to their old ways of fighting each other let them kill each other off. And then we can go in and help set up something that's going to be worthwhile after they're done killing themselves off.
Yeah, I am a veteran from that region. And I do know we just do not have the military forces just to sustain a commitment to Syria. Our Navy and Air Forces are there in the Persian Gulf to maintain that commitment. Our military forces have been cut back so far. It would be to the point of breaking our backs to go there and engage in another front there in the Middle East. I'm hearing all sorts of things about who actually did the gas attack. I've heard that even the rebels themselves may be culpable for this. So we really just don't know. And only thing I'm trying to say is we just don't have the military forces anymore. They're not there.
Yeah, and I've been to the classified briefing, and there's strong circumstantial evidence that it was the government of Syria, but that's not based on any sort of direct evidence that I saw. It's just based on statements I received from the administration. But again, there's a lot of unanswered questions like motivation. Why would you call chemical weapons inspectors in and then launch a chemical weapons attack? So there are lots of questions that remain unanswered. But your point about our military being stretched thin is true. I mean, we have a $17 trillion national debt. We are in Afghanistan, where we've been for more than a decade. It's the longest ground war in history. It seems that modern wars, unlike wars of past, modern wars seem to go on forever. You get in and you don't actually have a clear objective, and you stay there for a really long time. And I'm afraid that if we go into Syria, what could start out as limited strikes ends up becoming a very prolonged war, and may not just be in Syria, may spread to other countries too. So.
And what does the president mean by an integrated strategy or of reconciliation, I guess? I'm not sure, that's paraphrasing, but part of his objective was to establish an integrated reunification. What in the world is an integrated strategy?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know what he was referring to there. So I don't know. Yeah.
I have a two-part question, Congressman. First, Rush Limbaugh had a piece on yesterday, and I don't know what his source was, or any of the sources really, but about a meeting 10 days before the chemical saran, that it took place in Turkey, the U.S. intel was involved, etc. So really Obama's had the administration, but let's put it where the commander-in-chief is. He's had 20 plus days to make up his mind. He's got hopefully the best minds that we have to offer in the country to help him. Now he doesn't have some people that he doesn't listen to, and that's unfortunate because of the politics. So why is it taking so long and vacillating? Why is he setting such a poor example as supposedly leader of the free world when we don't know what the mission is, we don't know what the goal is, and now he's over in Sweden, I heard him this morning, at a press conference, and he's going to go to G2, which I'm sure you're familiar with all this. But wait till you get back on Monday, and I hope, the second question is, do you believe the speaker that he's not going to whip anybody like you into voting, but he's going to let the congressmen, do their thing? And I know you're very steadfast about no military action.
As for the second question, that remains to be seen. We'll get back
Correct.
there.
Okay.
So far, I would say we've received very little communication from House leadership. So we haven't had conference calls or messages from House leadership about this, so they haven't been trying to push us one way or the other. We've seen the statements, but I can tell you, having exchanged many emails and had conversations with my colleagues, people are extremely opposed to this in Congress. So it's not just me. There are many members who are opposed, and right now I would say that I would be surprised if it could pass in the House.
Even with Pelosi getting she thinks close to 200, maybe 150, but you only need
Well,
218
it will
to-
depend on what, it'll, in some sense, depend on what Democrats do, because a lot of Democrats, even those who are opposed, will support the administration.
Mhm.
So it does depend on what Democrats do. But I think, as far as Republicans voting, how the speaker or the leader vote is not going to impact our vote. I think we're going to do the right thing and represent the will of the people on this issue. So I'm not too concerned about that. At least I haven't heard anything that makes me concerned from any of my colleagues. As for the president, if he wants to convince Congress and convince the American people, he should be here doing it. He should be making the case,
Amen.
and he's not making the case. That's why there's so many people upset at every event I go to and concerned about this. The administration hasn't made the case, and I'm starting to question whether maybe it's designed to fail.
I've heard a lot of people, like, well, John Kerry in particular, for one, saying that they have clear evidence that it was Assad that used these weapons, but they haven't shown any evidence. So what do you think about that?
As I said before, there's strong circumstantial evidence based on information they have stated to members of Congress. So I don't have any documents or.
So it's just their word, right?
Or chemicals to have. I don't have scientists examining chemicals in front of me or proving anything like that. But based on things they've stated, there's strong circumstantial evidence. But it's not the type of evidence or not the type of statements that they've made that would convince anyone beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law.
Okay.
Sir, there seem to be a lot of red herring arguments, people talking about public opinion and other things like that, and very little discussion about what the Constitution actually allows in terms of deposing an established sovereign government and supporting insurgents, which is really what the opposition is. It's insurgents trying to topple a legitimate government. Where does the Constitution give us a basis for that? I know that the military, and I'll disagree with my friend here, the military actually has the force to be able to do something, or we wouldn't be talking about this. So the military probably, I'd get stoned in some circles for saying we may have too much capability in our Title X forces that allows us to go and intervene in places that constitutionally we shouldn't. But that's the discussion that should be happening, not the discussion about what I think, because my opinion doesn't mean anything if our rule of law says that we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
They haven't crossed outside their borders. Yes, there's a risk of that, but to this point, most of the actions that are taken